and welcome to Object Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the best-selling book Clouds on the Ground, no other than Miss Autumn Williams. Welcome, Miss Autumn on Abstract Essay, and can you please introduce more by yourself that I miss?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to be here. So, my name is Autumn Williams. I'm the author of two poetry books, my chapbook, Waves, and then my full length collection, Clouds on the Ground Poems on Time, Loss, and Dreams. I have a chronic illness, myalgic encephalomyelitis, and I've had that for 12 years, nearly 12 years. That influences my poetry. But in 2021, I became bedbound, and I'm a lot better than I was um, then, but still quite sick, still often bedbound. Um, but after a year of getting that bad, I started writing poetry. I am also a mom, and my husband and I have six children from ages 8 to 18, and we live in Texas.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Autumn. Thank you. And today, let's talk about self publishing poetry from a chapbook to collection. So let's start at the beginning. How do you know when a group of poems is ready to become a chapbook versus a full length collection?
That's an interesting question. A chapbook is much smaller than the full length. Um, and it can really be so many different things, whatever you want it to be. For myself, the the chapbook has sort of a storyline. It's at the ocean, and it's a metaphor for chronic illness. And you kind of just go through like some beautiful ocean scenery and just like the good parts, and then losing it. Um, you know, for me, when I knew that was done, it was complete. Like it ended. It didn't end very happily, but it ended sort of like this is finished. It just felt like, okay, this is the point I was trying to get across with the chapbook. Just the idea of validating people's pain. Some things are hard and they don't go away in this life, and so it's written in a way that it can be for anybody. So as far as the chapbook for me, it felt done and complete when it made the point that I wanted to make it. It wanted it to make of some things are hard. Life can be hard, and we can find beauty in it, but sometimes a story will end sad. Um, and then for Clouds on the Ground, since it's a full length collection, it ended on hope, whereas Waves was a little bit sad. Clouds on the Ground also goes through a lot more themes, a lot more um, places in the world. It goes through a lot of different nature, but it goes through a lot of different emotions, a lot more than Waves does. So it ended on hope, and um, knowing that was complete, it took a lot more work because it's a lot longer. But just the feeling of, okay, we're validating the pain, but we can also look for the good in the world. Um, and actually, it's interesting because right now with Waves, I'm doing an updated version of it. Clouds on the Ground is illustrated by my illustrator, Drew Clark. He's a phenomenal artist, and I'm having him illustrate Waves because I hadn't done that. So it's been a year since Clouds on the Ground has been out, and a little over a year for Waves. I did Waves about 2 months before Clouds on the Ground as like a lead magnet to get people to sign up for my newsletter. So
Mm-hmm.
Um, just that was first, Waves was first, and then Clouds on the Ground. But so we're updating Waves right now, and that'll be done soon. And he's redoing the cover because he didn't do the cover for Waves. He just did Clouds on the Ground, and he's created illustrations. I'm like, okay, here's the poem, and do the illustration for this poem. So we're doing that for Waves, and then I did two new poems for it for Waves. So Waves is going to now end a little bit more hopeful, a little bit less sad, but still kind of sad. So it's
Mm-hmm.
keeping its original intent. So I guess it was done until it wasn't done, and then I'm like, I want to add a little bit more to this chapbook and just sort of refresh, like be like, okay, here's this free thing I'm giving out, but it's a little new now, and it's got these amazing illustrations for people to check out. So I guess sometimes it's it's done and then it's not done, but that's how it's been for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Miss Autumn, curating a manuscript is an art itself. What was your process for selecting or sequencing your poems to create a compelling emotional or narrative arc from the first page to the last?
Yeah. Um, for Waves, it was easier because it's really short. And I just did that um, on, a, on a document on my computer. But for Clouds on the Ground, since it's so much longer, I had this big board and magnets, and I wrote the poems on little tiny cards, and I just pinned it all up in front of me, and I would move them around and just make it flow and make it tell the story I wanted. And it took me so many hours of just doing that. And then I would have like a gap, and I'll be like, okay, here's my old poems that I wrote when I was really sick, and I'll be like, I need to write a new poem here. And for
Mhm,
Clouds on the Ground, like as I was putting it together, I was like, there's this new story that I can put into there. So like more fiction poetry, to create something that's really universal. So I wrote new poems as I was putting it together, and just there were different things that I wanted to make sure as it flowed. I didn't want it to be repetitive, so I pulled apart certain poems. I'm like, okay, here's all the nature poems that are just mostly nature. I mean, they have symbolism, but then it was like, here's these poems about dreams, and here's these poems about time, and so I, you know, laid it out so that way there wasn't chunks of them. They were throughout, and each section, it kind of, I made the emotions kind of go up and down a little bit, just kind of how life is. And I made the sections for Clouds on the Ground in five sections: the seasons, starting and ending with fall. So it's, you know, goes around in a circle instead of just the four seasons. It shows how, like, time keeps going and sometimes how time feels fast or slow. So I just, that was a lot of work to put that one together. I was very careful to make sure it sounded well. Where it like as you read it, it's like a story almost. It tells a story, and some of the poems they just flow together. And so some of them are really short, and some of them are longer. But you can see as it goes that I made sure that words weren't repetitive and themes weren't repetitive, to just give it that feeling of time going on and try and mimic how life is.
how life is. Definitely. Miss Autumn, many poets write individual poems over years. How did you approach the challenge of creating a cohesive voice on thematic thread that ties the entire manuscript together?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, so I definitely will write poems, and I had been writing poems, like you said, just a little bit here and a little bit there, and then to tie it together. I'm sorry, can you say that again? Like, I apologize. My brain is like, wait, what is he asking? I completely spaced it. You said it so
No
professionally. I'm
worries.
like, he said big words. What are they? I'm gonna sound professional, but I can't remember now.
No worries at all, Miss Ada. No worries at all, Miss Ada. Many poets write individual poems over years. How do you approach the challenge of creating a cohesive voice or thematic thread that ties the entire manuscript together?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's really good. So over the time, I will find that I'm writing chunks of certain poems. Like I'll go on
Mm-hmm.
a few months. I'm like, oh, all these poems are about time, and then it's like, oh, like it's winter, and I'm stuck inside, and all of a sudden, all of my poems are about like snow and like cold wind, and I'm like, wow, there's a chunk of this. So really for the book, it's like looking at all of that, and then you can really see how you wrote chunks of whatever you were going through, or like, oh, I was having a hard time, and so I wrote about this emotion at this time. So I just, I pulled them apart and reordered them, so they're not in the book. They're not clearly not written by um, the dates that I wrote them. I pulled them apart to put them in a better order, and you know that's when I wrote new poems to fill in those gaps of like, oh, I never wrote about this, but I think this will really pull what I've already written together in a way that can really help people, and like try and tell a universal story of struggle and looking for hope, and just hopefully giving validation to people, like you're seen and heard, and like we can we can support each other in our hard times, and we don't have to like be like, oh, just get over it, or oh, time to move on. Like we can really put out this message into the world, or give people comfort that we can validate that some things just suck and they're not going away, and we don't want to hide from that. So, it's like validating. I put it together to validate the hardship. And then, we talk about nature, and that gives the hope of like, okay, this is really hard. And we're just going to keep living in this, and finding hope for what we have, um, without, you know, dismissing the hard things.
Getting external feedback is crucial, Miss Autumn. How did you find trusted critical readers for your manuscript, and what was the most valuable piece of revision advice you received?
Yeah, I definitely did a lot of work with the editing, and learning about that. So I found a really good editor, Shelby Lee. She's actually a really good poet, and she went through my book with me, and we just went through, and you know, she was so good to keep my voice and not change the poem's meanings, but like you're like, okay, so this would sound better. And so we did. I don't remember if it was like 3 or 4 different back and forth, where she would fix it and then send it to me, and then I would fix it and send it to her. And I think I even added some new poems as we were pulling it apart and to make it better. I also did some early readers and got their opinions of people who read poetry. And so I sent them the book, and I'm like, okay, give me your opinion. Like, what do you think of this? And I had some questions for them. And so they gave me their opinions on that. And then I have a book marketing coach, Derek Depker, and he's really good. If anybody's watching to like, learn about book marketing, he has a really good email list about book marketing tips. But he helps me with the introduction a lot. Um, it's one of the things he teaches is telling your story, and so the introduction to Clouds on the Ground tells my story to explain why I write the poems the way that I do. And he helped me, like, he pulled that apart in a different way than pulling a poem apart, and like and just helped me put it together in a way that would be engaging for people to read. um, and so that was really good. It was really good to go through the book, um, and make it as best as I'm capable with the help of other people who have, skills and talents that I don't have. Because I really wanted to put something out there that was really good, as well as the illustrations. Like I went back and forth with my illustrator, and he really listened to, like, I'm like, okay, here's the poem and here's what I'm looking for, and he really captured the emotion in the illustrations. He did the cover as well. Um, so just getting help from other people and being willing to just be like, okay, here's a story, but how can I reach for something better than what I can do on my own while still keeping it my own? It was a really good experience.
Miss Autumn, as an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Yeah. Right now, I've been submitting poems to different publications, and that's been really good. I've gotten individual poems in some magazines and anthologies. So, short term is just keep doing that and sharing on social media. On Instagram is where I've been sharing my poems a lot. And long term, I am working on another chapbook and another full length poetry book that should be coming, one of them at least next year, or
Mm,
2026, which is coming up. So, long term
good
goals.
luck to your goals, Miss Autumn. Good luck, and looking forward for more success. What will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author like you?
Yeah. I mean, there's the basic advice like, it's a great time to do it. You can look for a publisher or you can just self publish. And a lot of authors are finding they're started by self publishing first because you can skip the gatekeepers. You don't have to keep waiting years with like a bunch of manuscript rejections. You can get your book out right away, start to build an audience. And then if you really want a publisher, you can do more books, or you can just get that one out to live, like fulfill that dream. Um, but like, I think if you want to write a book, I think you need to like really just reach inside yourself and think about why you want to do it and just make it really important. Like, is it just like a passing idea? Like you're like, well, that might be cool. I don't think like usually when people want to write a book, that's the case. So if you can reach like past that, oh, that would be cool. Maybe I'll do that, to like, why do I want to do this? Like, am I wanting to like put some good into the world? Is this, do I have this really cool story that just I feel like needs to get out? But just finding something to make it important, like really important, and be like, hey, I have, you know, our life, who knows what's going to happen at any point. So if you think maybe I could do this now, like I really personally would encourage people to find something inside of themselves that to make it important and do it, because it's a really awesome thing to do. I remember getting very scared about publishing my book, especially the poems are written when I was sick, and it's very vulnerable to share that. But I just wanted to show my kids that I could do something like that and just be like, hey, I'm sick, but I can still do something awesome, and to just encourage them to live their dreams. So for me, that was, you know, a big reason was to um, just inspire my kids to follow their dreams and things like that. But if people can find a good reason, whatever that is for them, to get their book out, it's a great time to get your book out right now.
Well, thank you for that advice, Miss Autumn. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Okay, yeah. Um, Sorry, I wasn't expecting that one, but I'm gonna think. Um, there's just been a lot of poetry books that I've been reading. Um, I would really encourage people to look into their genre if they want to write. Going back
Mm-hmm.
to your last question about advice, but for me that was important. And just reading the big poetry books is really good. Reading the classics and reading the people who are really famous right now. But then, like, there's so much good poetry from smaller authors, or like their work isn't as famous yet, and it's just amazing, beautiful poetry. So, like, just read a wide range. For me, it's been very influential, excuse me, to read just all sorts of poetry, all the genres of poetry, all the, big
Mm-hmm.
name, small name, and it's just been good.
Definitely. The highly recommended people. And thank you for that recommended book, Miss Autumn. And how do you navigate the delicate balance between being a passionate artist and being a strategic entrepreneur when it comes to pricing, promotion, and talking about your book?
That's a really good question. I feel like you kind of have to go into different states of mind for both of those pieces. Um, and sometimes, just I think for me, and I think it could be helpful for others, finding fun in marketing is good, because if you're writing, you like it, you like your topic, you like your story. I love writing poetry. It's very therapeutic. And but then, like, to go into things like marketing, um, I like finding fun in it. So, posting on social media and building up a following, it's really awesome because I'm meeting new people and making friends, even, but like getting my work out there and people are saying nice things, so it's like, okay, that's really motivating to do that work. And then just like doing an email newsletter, that can be hard, but it's like, okay, that's more storytelling, that's more helping people, more putting that out there. And then just, I don't know, I think for me it's hard to sell something personally, but I'm like, okay, you got to get over that. But so I like doing giveaways. So that's a fun thing because then it builds up the audience, builds up the email list, and then I can be like, oh, I'm giving something to somebody. So that's always a really fun way to do it. And just, I like learning. I like, so I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take this new class about learning how to do like Amazon ads or something, and just it feels very fulfilling to learn something new and um, just expand my skill set as far as marketing my book and my work and things like that. So I think finding fun in it, finding finding fulfillment in what I'm
Yes.
doing.
Miss Autumn, self publishing requires a thick skin. How do you deal with the internal critic or external doubts about the legitimacy of self publishing compared to a traditional get kept route?
Yeah, so that can be a little hard. I think for me, when I was doing I mean, I'm still doing it, but when I was like really in the thick of before I published my book, of learning about self-publishing, um, it's easier to quiet that inside voice of like, oh, you self-published, um, when you just realize that so many people are really successful when they self-publish, and the culture around it. It's not looked down on anymore to self-publish. Like, it used to be that the publishers wouldn't publish you. If you were self-published, that was it. You closed your doors, the end. But now you start out by self-publishing, and if you build an audience around it, then you're opening doors to publishers because they want someone with an audience. So starting out with self-publishing, or even a lot of people are making a lot of money by skipping the publisher altogether and just publishing their books on their own. There's a lot of control in it, a lot of creative control in that. um, a lot of people are doing that. So just seeing all of these successful authors who self-publish, who either say self-published or become published later after they self-publish, I think is really validating. um, to just have the culture around book publishing being very, like, a lot more accepting than it used to be around self-publishing a book.
Poetry is deeply personal. What is like to shift your mindset from writing in a private journal to packaging your most vulnerable work as a product for public consumption?
Yeah, it's really hard. I think I just remember whenever I went to publish my book, right before I was about to push, like post poems on social media and have my chapbook out before the full length book. I was so scared. It was terrifying. But I think what helped the most was just realizing that I could help other people. And, I just, it doesn't have to be poetry to help other people. Like, just putting out a story into the world, like, is something that someone can just read and escape their life for a little while and just, fill their batteries. Books are so important. Like, they help us feel validated, they help entertain us. So for me, I think just being scared is one thing, but then just being like, I'm gonna fulfill this goal of mine. I'm gonna live this dream, and I'm gonna help people. And I think the helping people is the part that pushed it over the edge that made me do it. It's like, what are my kids going to think if I don't do this? Like, they know I've been working on it for so long. I got to show them that I can do it, that I can be brave. Um, so I think sometimes living your dreams is enough, and other times you got to push it into, I'm helping people to make yourself do it.
Definitely. Definitely helping people is priceless. Something else that you can compare. And Miss Autumn, what is one misconception about the self-publishing process of poetry that you wish you could debunk for other aspiring poets?
Yeah, I think some people who are new might not understand the climate around self publishing. I didn't know when I was first researching how to publish a book. I wasn't in the and I didn't have any publishing world knowledge, so I had to do all this research. I didn't know that you could start with self publishing and that was a very valid way of doing it, and that you could become very successful by starting with self publishing or even staying with self publishing. So I think that's the myth that is, if you're new, to like get that out of your head. Like, you can be very successful with self-publishing. A lot of people are doing it. A lot of the big names right now started out self-publishing, so that would be a good one for people to know.
Indeed. And Miss Autumn, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. Book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in third season. Food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101. Love letters. Movie 101 review. Music 101 in its fourth season, and my Science 101 Sex 101 in its second season. My baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss
Yeah, your
Autumn,
podcasts are awesome.
thank you. So, Miss Autumn, ultimately, in the age of algorithms and instant content, why do you believe the physical self published poetry collection still matters?
People still want books on their bookshelf, and um, it's nice to have that. You're not going to read the book on social media. You're going to see poems here and there. So if you get someone's book, you see what they've put together. You get a whole new experience of the poetry, and yeah, people still love books. They still. I don't think that's ever going to go away, no matter what digital thing we have. There's something really special about a physical copy of a book.
Mhm. Definitely. Yes. Miss Autumn Williams, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your Amazon best-selling as well as award-winning piece?
Yeah. So my website's Autumn Williams Poetry. You can also find me, or no, it's autumnwilliams.com, but and then Instagram, it's Autumn Williams Poetry.
Yes. So, where do people can buy your book, Miss Autumn?
Yeah, on Amazon.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Autumn Williams because if you support her for sure, more and more poetry books will rise. So, Miss Autumn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Modicon people, see you soon.